You sell a property for $1.5 million, made about $900,000, and the IRS gives you 45 days to reinvest. Miss it and you pay the tax. Rush it and you overpay. Either way, most investors I meet feel like they made the wrong move even when they didn't. Let's talk about how to use 1031 exchange. It's a powerful tool, but it can either compound your wealth or quietly trap you in a deal you hate for the next decade. And the scary part, on the day you decide, both choices feel smart. Stick around because we're going to run a real deal and I'll show you exactly where people blow it. And by the end of this video, you'll know which mistake you're personally most likely to make and how to avoid it. And the mistake is rarely the one that people think. Some of you might have a couple of months to go before you need to make a decision. I'm going to break things down real simple for you. Others of you watching might be already under contract, exhausted from managing an apartment, or staring at a tax number at a closing statement that makes your stomach drop. I will make sure we cover your scenario too. But first, let's quickly run through some basic definitions you need to know when doing 1031. What is the 1031? A 1031 exchange is a provision in the United States tax code that allows real estate investors to defer capital gains taxes when they sell an investment property, as long as they follow specific IRS rules. So instead of selling a property and cutting a massive check to taxes, a 1031 lets you roll your profits forward into another investment property and deferring the taxes. Like-kind property means a real estate exchanged for another real estate and held for investment or business use. Here's the key idea. Like-kind does not mean the same asset. What it means is the same purpose. So if the property's job is to generate income or preserve capital as an investment, you are good. For example, a single-family rental can be exchanged for an apartment complex, or an apartment complex for an industrial complex, rental house for a marina slip, a strip mall for farmland. What does not qualify, however, is a primary residence or a property you're flipping, or any of your personal property like cars or artwork, etc. Now, a very important part here to talk about when you're choosing the like-kind property, if you're trying to achieve full deferral of taxes, meaning zero capital gains tax today, you must meet these two criteria. Number one, you must reinvest all of the net exchange proceeds into replacement property. So in our example, the full 900 grand must be reinvested. And number two, you must fully offset any debt you were relieved of when you sold. So you can either do this in two ways. You either take equal or a greater new debt, or you need to add outside cash from your own pocket that is not part of the exchange proceeds, and in our example it was 900,000. So for example, you sell a property for 1.5 million, you pay off your debt of 500,000, and after closing fees you have 900,000 in net proceeds. So to fully defer, you must reinvest that 900,000 and you must offset that $500,000 of debt that you paid off at closing. So you either get a new loan for $500,000, or if your new loan is, let's say, $400,000, you must add $100,000 of extra cash that is in addition to the $900,000 that you netted to fully defer. Next, we have qualified intermediary. Qualified intermediary, or QI, is an independent third party who facilitates a 1031 exchange. The key is that QI must be independent, so it's not your agent or attorney, CPA, or broker from the last 2 years. And QI holds the funds until they're used to acquire a replacement property. So think of it as a referee holding the ball, and if you touch the ball too early, the play is dead. 45-day identification rule. If you are doing 1031, the 45-day identification rule requires you to formally identify and inform IRS of potential replacement of properties in writing within 45 days of sale. And very important, day one is the day you close the sale and not the day after. And 180-day close rule is, if you're doing 1031, 180-day rule requires you to buy any of the identified replacement properties that you told IRS about within that 45 days. And now the clock really starts. So you need to buy and actually close on one of them. If you miss that window, the tax bill shows up and you will pay full taxes. Now, important to remember that a 180-day clock runs concurrent with a 45-day identification period. So again, it starts on the day that you sold your property. For now, that's all the definitions you need to know for the rest of the video. Now you need to know 3 basics when doing 1031. You need to know your net proceeds, after-tax cash, and the replacement target. Net proceeds is, here's how to explain it. You sell a property and then everyone lines up with their hands out. The bank takes their loan, broker takes their fees, the lawyer takes their slice, and what's left in your hand, that's your net proceeds. Now, net proceeds is what remains after everyone gets paid except for the government. They're still waiting in the corner. After tax cash, now you take those net proceeds and you hand a chunk to the IRS, let's say anywhere from 15 to 37%. What you have after that is money you can actually use and don't worry about the taxes. And a replacement target is the next deal that you're pointing your money at when you sell. And in a 1031, you don't just sell a property. You're pretty much telling the IRS, here is where my money is going next. And that next property, or maybe a set of properties, is what's called replacement target. If you identify it on time and close on it correctly, your profits just keep rolling instead of getting chopped out by taxes. For example, as your replacement target, you can have a boutique hotel, a billboard, a cell tower land, marine slip, even industrial storage spaces. But you have 45 days to name your replacement target, and the IRS, well, believe it or not, they have quite specific what they consider qualified replacement targets that you must select and report in exactly within 45 days. And here are the 3 IRS rules for qualified replacement targets, and yours must fit within one of these definitions to be considered for a 1031 exchange. Rule number 1, the 3 property rule. You can name up to 3 properties regardless of price, and you only need to buy one. And remember, if your goal is a full deferral, the one you choose must get all the net proceeds, so full $900,000. And you need to fully offset your prior debt. So in our example, you need to get a new debt on a new property of at least $500,000. Rule number 2, the 200% rule. Under this rule, you can identify any number of properties as long as the total value of everything you identify does not exceed 200% of which you sold. So in our example, if you sold a property for $1.5 million, you can identify multiple properties totaling up to $3 million, 1.5 times 2. And that could be 2 single-family rentals, 10, small mobile park homes, 5 single-family rentals, and so forth. There is no limit on how many you can name, but there is a hard limit on the total value of everything you name. And rule number 3, the 95% rule. You can identify any properties, any value, there is no limit. But here's the catch. You absolutely must buy 95% of what you identified. So for example, if you identify 10 trailer parks, you must close on at least 9.5 of them. Now remember, this rule has no value of number of properties or the limit on the number of properties you name. And here's where things stop being technical and start getting personal. I've watched this moment play out a number of times, more times than I can count. And here is the most common 1031 owner I see. A burned out small landlord or multifamily owner did the work, survived the tenants, all the insurance increases, tax increases, and at the end you're just tired. So let's use a real world example what mirrors most of you. You bought the property years ago for around $800,000. Fast forward to now, you're fortunate enough to sell it for $1.5 million, and you still have a loan on it for $500K. After paying off the loan, the closing costs, you've got about $900,000 in net proceeds sitting in escrow. So now you have a choice. Do you pay taxes and take the cash, or do you save taxes and reinvest in 1031? This is the moment people think they're making a tax decision, but they're really not. They're making a life decision. So let's do a cash out park cleaning. when you sell, and your tax bill usually comes from two places: from the profit you made on the property, and second, that all the tax breaks that you took along the way, depreciation, which now the IRS wants back. And if you understand these two brackets, you're doing fantastic. So on a deal like this, these two come in at around $250,000. That means now if you cash out your $900,000 in net proceeds, quietly turns and shrinks down to $650,000 in liquid cash. And this is where most people feel a crux of their problem, because watching that $900,000 turn into $650,000, it hurts. You feel like you've lost money. So you have path A, you cash out, you take $650,000 in cash, which buys you options and flexibility, and that is financial advantage. It means you can wait for pricing to soften, choose a better mortgage, negotiate without desperation, and say no to bad deals. Cash isn't lazy because liquidity is leverage, and leverage buys you something most people don't value until it's gone. Peace. Or you have path B, the 1031 exchange. Yes, you defer the tax, you keep the full $900,000 compounding, and that feels like winning. And it might be. But let's make absolutely sure by turning to that 45-day clock. You have 45 days to identify and report to the IRS and 180 days to close. Those deadlines could change the entire deal. How so? Well, suppose you're not shopping calmly anymore. Suppose you're shopping under duress, and that makes you susceptible to a few crucial errors that I call the rushed buyer personality. And it shows up in exactly three places. Number one, overpaying. Not always huge. Sometimes it's 3 to 6% because you're afraid to miss day 45. And on a $3 million deal, that's $90,000 to $180,000. Number two, worse terms. When you're boxed in, you expect a higher rate, lower proceeds, and more reserves because you have to close. And lenders absolutely know when you're in a 1031. They won't say it, but urgency shows up in pricing, reserves, and leverage. The terms get worse because they know you can't just walk away. And number three, hidden future pain. The stuff you didn't underwrite because you were racing the clock. CapEx, insurance resets, tax reassessments, management headaches. And here's something most people don't realize. Your identification list is where the deal dies. People list 3 properties they don't actually want just to buy time. But when one falls through, one doesn't appraise, and suddenly the worst option becomes your only option. And if you remember one rule from this whole video, it's this. If you wouldn't buy a replacement deal with fresh cash, meaning no tax pressure, no timeline, no ego, you are not allowed to 1031 into it. Now, let's run my simple should I even do this test? This isn't about being brave or disciplined, it's about being honest. So score yourself quickly on each of these 5 brutally honest questions. Question number 1, the burnout meter. First, how tired are you really? 0 means you're energized, and 10 means you want your life back. Question number 2, the time pressure gauge. How soon do you need to access your cash? 0, you don't need liquidity. You can lock capital up comfortably. And 10, in the next 12 to 24 months, you need your cash. And that's your constraint. Question number 3, the execution reality check. Can you actually move fast and clean? 0, you have deal flow, lenders ready, QR lined up, and underwriting discipline. And 10, you're just figuring it all out inside a hard deadline. Question number 4, the lifestyle truth. Do you actually want to stay in real estate? 0 is your yes. You want a lifestyle that comes with ownership and management. And 10 is a no. You're doing this because you feel like you're supposed to. Question number 5, the upgrade test. And lastly, is your replacement plan clearly better than what you own now? 0 is a clear upgrade, market, tenant base, downside protection, and 10, you are trading sideways just to avoid taxes. So answer this honestly, because what you're deciding with 1031 is not just the tax portion, but your next 7 to 10 years. And if you're burned out already, just imagine spending the next 7 to 10 years being a landlord. In this case, money can absolutely buy happiness, well, or at least peace. So that score you just gave yourself, it usually puts you into one of the 3 buckets. And let me show you how these buckets look like in real life, because you'll recognize yourself immediately. If you have scores 21 to 35, you are archetype 1, the tax panic 1031. They sell, they see the tax number, panic, buy a replacement property they don't want or they don't love, and they save $250,000, but silently they overpay $120,000, and on top of it they inherit a headache. 5 years later they say, I should have just paid the tax. This is the most common smart mistake in 1031 history. If you have scores 0 to 20, you are archetype 2, the strategic 1031 upgrade. This person already knows what they're buying. He has a criteria, deal flow, financing lined up. Replacement isn't just newer, it's actually better. Better market, better tenants, cleaner capex profile. His execution is clean and he uses 1031 to compound, and 1031 for him is a strategy. And scores 36 to 50 put you into archetype 3 group, proud cash out. They're done with management, they want optionality. Just pay the tax, sit on cash, wait maybe for a better pricing or better debt, and redeploy without pressure. They don't regret it because they bought back control. Now, I've watched people get to day 43 with no clean replacement. They're exhausted. And when a broker says this is good enough, that sentence can cost more investors money than any tax bill ever has. And based on everything we just walked through, most people land into one of the three places, A, B, or C. A, you stay in the game, low fatigue, you want to stay in real estate, your execution is clean, and the replacement is clearly better. B, you cash out for control, you're just tired, want nothing to do with real estate anymore, you want flexibility, and liquidity matters to you. Or C, not ready yet, so take the time to figure out your objectives. Don't rush into this sale without first figuring out where you want to do when that sale happens. So now drop A, B, or C in the comments, not for me, but for you, because most of the value here is just seeing where other smart people land. And just so you know, experienced investors land in all of the three. And if you're within 90 days of selling, do this 7-day plan before you sign anything. And this is the checklist I wish more investors use before they even list it. Day number 1, pull your bases, improvements, depreciation taken, loan payoff estimate. If you don't know these, you're guessing. Day number 2, you ask your CPA for a rough tax range and clean explanation of depreciation recapture. Day number 3, talk to a qualified intermediary. Understand the mechanics, the fees, the timing. Day number 4, define replacement criteria, location, asset type, minimum cash flow, and the top 3 risks you refuse to take. Day number 5, underwrite 3 realistic replacement options. Not some fantasy deals, but real deals you could actually close. And day number 6, map the timeline within day 45 and day 180 marked in red. If you can't execute inside of that reality, you shouldn't pretend that you can. And day number 7, decide. Write your reason in 1 sentence. If you can write a clean sentence, you don't have your clarity yet. And if you're thinking, well, okay, this is a lot, that is very normal. This decision has just too many variables to hold in your hand. So I've done 2 things to make this easier. First, I put the full 7-day plan into a clean 1-page download. Grab it in the comments, print it, use it before you sign anything. And second, if you want help thinking through your numbers, not mine, this is where AI can actually help. If you use it the right way, in ChatGPT, paste the prompt I'm gonna paste in the description, and also we'll put it on the screen, and use it to help you decide what to do with 1031. So in summary, a 1031 exchange is the most effective when an investor has low fatigue, no near-term liquidity needs, strong execution capacity, and clearly superior replacement assets. Cashing out is often the better choice when investor values simplicity or optionality over tax deferral. And when neither condition is true, delaying that sale or restructuring is usually smarter than forcing a decision under time pressure. And here's my final question. and answer it honestly. Remember that choice we started with? Pay tax once or overpay quietly for years. Would you rather pay $250,000 in tax once or overpay $150,000 for a replacement deal you didn't even want because that 45-day clock bullied you? All right, everyone, comment below and remember that the goal isn't to beat the IRS. It's to not regret it for the next 10 years. And if you like this video, check on my next video where I talk about how to maximize your profits with 1031 and never pay taxes till you die.